your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and it is always a pleasure to have you joining us here on the program to share the various aspects of, you might say, more metaphysical and or spiritual aspects of life and living. Well, today we end up going back once again to my old stomping grounds, if you will, of Santa Barbara, California. Lived there for nearly 20 years. And I'm going to have a guest on the program who's going to share her vision and her, as well as her experience running a trauma response volunteer network there in Santa Barbara. It's the Santa Barbara Response Network, and my guest is Jina Carvalho, and I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the program. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Richard. It's really an honor to be here and share the experiences that I've had with you with gratitude that I enter the space.
Well, I know that this subject of healing comes up quite regularly, and I and my wife, both being Reiki masters, being taught about how we send the energy out without any intention other than to support the individual or circumstance we're sending it to. And then, of course, my wife and I did an absentee healing for my uncle, my father's brother, back probably 99 or the year 2000, somewhere in that neighborhood. They gave us his photograph and we did an absentee and so forth. Well, at my uncle's funeral, my mother explained to me or shared with us what happened after we gave him that healing. And apparently he got real upset, very angry, threw his medications across the room against the wall, jumped into his wheelchair, wheeled across the compound where their family lived, he and his family lived, to the house that his son lived in. And went inside and they had their conversation, I guess their time together. And then, of course, he passed away. And the thing that struck me about that was, wait a minute, this was absentee healing. What happened? And it was a few years ago after my wife's nephew passed away from leukemia that it finally dawned on me that my uncle, as well as my nephew, who we also sent Reiki to, they both had win-win scenarios. Now, the win-win is if the cancer had gone into remission in either case, guess what? They win. They get a few extra years, and so forth. Hopefully, quality of life. However, if the cancer, they succumb to the cancer, they win again because now they're free of that body. And the body really isn't what's important, but you and I, as people who are still here get very attached to that body, to that
Mm.
person. And you have experienced this firsthand, very close, because you were a caregiver for your husband. Talk to us about your definition, and then we can go into this area as well. But your definition, how do you see healing? What is it?
You know, your story is an interesting one because when I thought about being with my husband, Wally, and also the trauma response work that I did in the community, healing is energy. It really is being present in the moment, real time. And that provides an opportunity for the person to be in their space and what they need at that time. We can't fix or alter their destiny, but we can be fully present with them. And our energy, healing as it may, has that effect on the person. When we did trauma response work and I trained our volunteers, I said, you are the medicine. It's not the questions you ask or getting the right stuff to them. It's you being there. And I think healing comes from permission. It's really a state of grace.
Mm.
And when I was with him, I wanted everyone that would come to visit him, and as he was passing, we made times because he was weak, to be there with open heart and just be there as he's journeying from this dimension. And the healing he seemed very peaceful throughout. Not that he wasn't uncomfortable, but I thought the healing came from each and every one of us being fully present. That was my experience and has been for the many, many years of response that I've done. So I'm not going into the medical aspects of healing or what happens. I also do Reiki, so I understand that. But it's connection, Richard. It's so healing to be in connection, real, true connection. So my impetus for doing the workshop at Unity was healing through connection. It's a huge aspect in people healing. So,
And it seems as though keep it as not so much local as in Santa Barbara, Central Coast,
yeah.
Southern California, but in terms of this specific nation, the United States needs a heck of a lot of healing right now.
Yeah.
Now, and when I say that, I'm not saying that we all need to be thinking and believing and voting the same. That's not what I'm talking about. It's that we need to let go. I was talking in my last interview with a gentleman you might know, Mark Tollefson, who wrote a book called Thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of came up. I said, can an individual actually thrive? And we'll put this into the context of healing as well. Can an individual really expect to experience the healing of life and limb, if that were to be the case, while holding on to regret and guilt and resentment and hatred and all of the other things that are out there? And I even made the comment then, I'm not going to call those negative emotions or what have you. They just are what they are. And it seems to me that an individual who is seeking, let's just say, to add years to their life by getting rid of whether it be cancer or anything else in their body, in their physical body, and wanting to live quality of life, it's not as likely to happen if they're holding on to the baggage that's holding them down. Has that been your experience with the people that you've worked with?
I do think that is true. I mean, if we do talk about energy and healing, and allowing the healing to come into our bodies and our communities. When I think about healing through connection, I see this, also throughout this country in these communities that are feeling pain and the anger and the marginalized situations that some communities are facing. And the healing is coming from that will need to come from us coming together and lifting up that energy. I think when we hold on to, regret, anger, hatred, it's a lower vibrational energy, isn't it, Richard? I mean, we know it's just like it's down here.
Mm-hmm.
And, our work every day and my work seems to be every day is to lift myself up so that I can deal with that energy. It's not going to go away. It's down there or it's a little lower vibration. But what are my tools? What do I do to lift myself up? And the practices that we develop in our daily life are so essential. Right now, I'm also doing caregiving for my parents who are both alive,
Mm-hmm.
95 and 96. And my mother's blind. And I'm doing remote caregiving. Can you believe it? They're in Canada.
Wow.
So how do you do that? So, and I said, and what is this? What is all this, these gifts I'm getting, right? To
Yeah.
love and care for them as they are in the end of their years. Um, and a lot of letting go of resentment because my childhood was traumatic and having and being present with them and allowing that to heal so that the energy can be lifted up and we're not holding on to resentment and anger. Not that I push it away. I'm very aware of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm operating from a different energy or vibration. I mean, we understand each other's language, but I do think it's harder, much harder to um, transform or lift our energy holding on to that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's fear, Richard. That's fear. And
Yeah.
we're such scared people. We're so scared, each of us, and so fear has to be dealt with. It's fear. It's all from fear and unresolved trauma,
Mm.
you know?
Jina Carvalho is my guest here on the program. JinaCarvalho.com. Let me spell that for you because we'll be linked to it so you can find out more about the work she's doing. JinaCarvalho.com. And as I said, we'll be linked to that website, and we hope that you'll check it out as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Jina Carvalho here with us talking about healing and about the work that she has been doing. If I may dive into this particular, even if it's just for a moment, you were honored with an award by the Independent there in Santa Barbara.
I was.
Tell us a little bit about that. Because I think it's important to recognize that it's okay for us to acknowledge that we're good at something. I mean, I'm good at what I do, and there's no shame in that. I'm not going to sit there standing on the roof of my house and say, "Hey, I'm great at what," just no, it's not what I'm talking about. So tell us about why they honored you and so forth, and how that made you feel.
I'm amused by this because thank you for bringing that up. And I do accept it, and I was very good. And so the Independent here is the senior editor, or the editor-in-chief is Marion Partridge, and wonderful woman. And she called me personally and she said, "We're going to give you this award. Are you going to receive it?" I said, "Oh, Marion," and I took, she said, "You have to come. You're going to receive it. You're going to accept it because I've just been doing the work. And it made me slightly uncomfortable." So you asked me, I felt uncomfortable. I didn't, it wasn't that I didn't think I deserved it. I did, but it still made me uncomfortable. I come from poor peasant immigrant, Portuguese stock, always in the background. So this was kind of a light on me. And then it was very interesting because when I received the award, I had no idea. I didn't prepare a speech. So I got there and I got the award. I said, okay, now I have to say something. So it was very amusing to me, the whole thing. But it came about because over the many years that I was involved with trauma response work in the community, and these are all the major the traumas that we've experienced in Santa Barbara, which have been many. the wildfires,
Hmm.
the debris flow. So we were the mass shooting in Isla Vista, very intense family murders where family members and children were murdered. The Conception fire. So at all these incidents, I would work with other responding entities, including, the county of Santa Barbara mental health people, but we brought in the volunteers that would be there to respond to the families who were deeply impacted by what had gone on, and also in schools, a lot of work in schools, suicides, violence. So the work was so valuable. I saw firsthand what healing looked like. I really did, Richard. It was coming into a home where there was so much pain, or a location where people were really struggling. And to have someone from the community come in and say, I'm here. I'm here.
Mm.
What do you need? And they're trained in psychological first aid. So I trained hundreds of people and helped coordinate dozens and dozens of responses. And that's why I received the Santa Barbara Award. And during the debris flow, we were there for many months because it was just the impact was so vast. And
Mm.
but it was I like what you say about recognizing ourselves and giving ourselves the due respect
Yeah.
um, that we deserve. And I was deeply honored, and it was. I enjoyed it. My husband was alive at the time. He really got a kick out of it, so it was lovely to go and
Very,
see
very,
his face.
yeah, very cool. Well, I know that for me, I mean, I've been doing this for 47 years, this August. And I've only received within the framework of my industry, I've only received one award. However, and I don't say however to diminish it by any means, it was not from some prestigious group. I did actually have some of my programs nominated for a Peabody, but you have to submit those and you pay for the submission. Okay. So it's not like somebody recognized you, right? And that was okay too. It was kind of fun to say, yes, Peabody Award nominated. Well, okay. I received this wonderful little award from one of our programmers at the radio station, who is no longer with us on the station. They're still alive, as far as I know. And they called it the Slide Pot Award, because that's what's on the console when you're in the control room. You're sliding the pots up and down to volume controls and so forth. And it was just in recognition of the work that I had done for them. And I have this on my desk even as we speak. And they would come in, and and they would be joking. They would slide it down saying, well, no, not so good today. But then the next week they'd come in and they'd slide it all the way. That was a good program. Thank you very much. So it was sort of a changing levels award. And it was a lot of fun, but it is so important. It really is, that we can recognize the things that we're good at and not be ashamed or afraid to say yes. And that's the reason why I'm coming to you, for example, because I need help with whatever it is that they think you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
I also recognize too that there are times when, no, I'm sorry, but that's outside my wheelhouse. I could learn how to do what it is that you're asking for, but it's going to take a little time if you're willing to wait, kind of thing. And that's another aspect of this in terms of the process and the progression that you have gone to. Where did you discover your connectedness, if you will, to, and I'm going to use the broad term, this concept of energy healing?
Wow, very good question. That's the first thing that came to mind was my grandmother. I was born and raised in Portugal, and I had a grandmother that I believe and was a healer and is a healer. I was young and it was kept kind of quiet, but I saw that she was able to kind of channel energy from people from the other side.
Mm.
But it was kept very hush hush because it's a Catholic country, and that could have been seen as the work of the devil. Okay, we're talking, this very, very interesting situation where she really did help a lot of people, but it was not openly talked about. So I think I witnessed things in my childhood that intrigued me, and I liked her a lot. Also, I had a cousin who was exorcised in the church. And I remember that. He was a little older than I was, and they said he was possessed.
Wow.
And so he was exorcised twice by the priest. And these stories just came to me. I haven't talked very much about them, but they had a profound effect on me as a child because I wanted to understand what was going on, and people weren't really talking about it. And these are archaic ways of understanding energy because in the church at that time, it was good, you were of the devil or of God. But I think though that impacted me a great deal as a child. And then I was very ill as a child, and my father took me. I am from a place near Fatima where Our Lady of Fatima appeared. It's like Lourdes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hometown. That's my community. So my father went there to have me healed. I had a rare blood disease. And so that impacted me. And then my brother also, he did that. So I grew up sort of surrounded by these very interesting, out of the ordinary life experiences. And I think, Richard, they impacted me, made me very curious, very open. My mother's very open. So I always felt that this where we inhabit our bodies is not all there is. I just became curious about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are stories. I'm a writer, and a poet. I'm gonna write about them because I haven't really described those early childhood experiences.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something very interesting that probably listeners don't know. When you make a promise to, like, Our Lady of Fatima,
Mm-hmm.
my father made a promise, and he said, if my daughter is healed, I will go on my knees, up and down the stairs of the cathedral.
Right.
And then with my brother, they went on his knees in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So there they were on their knees, fulfilling the promise. So very interesting. So I come from a very, very interesting childhood.
That's funny too in the reaction initially that you described, because, for example, when a pope dies, and I forget how long they have to wait, but then the only way that pope can be canonized is if they can verify, I believe it's 3 miracles.
Oh, yes.
So here's the church that seems to, and this is members of your community, who are having a problem with you exercising your abilities, if you will, that are God-given in that respect. But they have no problem whatsoever in accepting that the church has just authenticated and authorized that so-and-so pope is now a saint because we just found 3 miracles that they did. And it's like, the Catholic Church, I was born and raised in it myself.
Oh,
has been for the years so accepting of what I'll refer to as supernatural events and experiences that people have had. And using those examples of Medjugorje, Lourdes, Fatima.
mm-hmm.
There's even
Mm-hmm.
a shrine supposedly that people have had. In Ireland, there is a shrine similar to those places. It's not as noted,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but there is one. My wife and I both went there. She had just a year earlier had gone through cancer diagnosis, surgery, and chemo, and we were on our honeymoon that following year, 2002, and we flew, of course, to Ireland. The Grotto, that's the name of it, that
Mm-hmm.
is in Ireland. And she drank, not only did she drink from the spring that was there, We still have some of the water in a Trinity bottle, a plastic, I think it's glass, a glass Trinity water bottle that we brought home with us. Obviously, this was before they had all the restrictions. And it's just amazing to me. I mean, I worked for a Christian radio station for 15 years. And if somebody shared their experience with the people on the radio and it didn't fit into the box that they believed in, it didn't happen. They would discount it. It's like, well, how can you say that to them? Their experience has changed their lives. They can't unexperience it, but you are trying to demonize it. Did you, in looking back, ever feel that way, or did you kind of make peace with it? This is just the way they are, and I'm not gonna change. I can't, because this is me.
Well, that process of what I would call individuation, I have a lifelong 45 years in psychology. So I turned to psychology to understand some of my own childhood trauma and things. I differentiated. I pursued as much as I could finding my authentic self and who I was and who I am. And that meant differentiating myself from my family, from the church or from the Catholic Church, not differentiating like, oh, it's there, but I've individuated. I've been on a hero's journey of my own, my own hero's journey. That informed me. All the myths of the church, the Portuguese myths, they're myths. They're operating systems. They're just operating systems that people, and I understand those operating systems, and I have my own. And they incorporate some of that knowledge, but it's not who I am any longer in terms of spirituality. And all of the great teachers I've worked with over so many years, I've learned so many valuable lessons about history and mythology and psychology, to be who I am now in this part of my life, which is the latter part now. You go from the hero's journey to the soul journey. It's now the soul aspect of my life where I'm losing so many close friends. I'm losing family. You're dealing with loss on a profound level. And what does healing look like in this realm now? And what does love look like? What does compassion feel like? And I really live more in the heart than I ever thought of. I live really heart-centered life. So
Yeah, I know. I'm dealing with over the last maybe 10 or 15 years. I'm 66 now, and yeah, I've lost a father and an elder sister, and my mother, who is going to be 92 in a couple of months. She's going strong. She is just having a grand time in her life.
great.
And it's just wonderful to be able to talk with her on the phone. It's weird to say that I lost my best friend of 53 years. He and I went through grade school, high school, and college together, and he passed away a couple, 3 years ago due to complications in regards to COVID. He actually died of a heart attack, but it was exacerbated by COVID.
Wow.
Of course, the other end of it also is too, and again, I'm not being critical or judgmental of my best friend, but it is the truth. He didn't take that good care of himself. He didn't eat well, for starters. The man had red hair when he was a kid growing up, and eventually, and I've heard that this happens, that people with red hair in particular, as they get older, this was before it may have gone white, if you will, or whatever. the red went away. And that's usually due to diet. And I miss that redheaded guy. I really do. I have to chuckle at some of these little shorts I see every once in a while about gingers and the criticism. Like, why do people criticize gingers, people with red hair, especially women? It's like, I have a fascination, especially with redheaded women, because my third grade teacher was a redhead. And of course, in third grade, you're you're starting to form your patterns and so forth. But it's just extraordinary, this process we call healing. My present wife and I, we went through, and I don't think I've really shared much of this before. There was an organization in Phoenix that we participated in. I want to say it was once a month, where they had a potluck. And the people that would come would arrive and they would bring their massage tables. And in this large home, wherever they were meeting, after the potluck, they'd set up the massage tables. And you would have 3 or 4 people at each table. And they would do the hands-on massaging and so forth of this person. And they would change off. So for 15, 20 minutes, number 1, number 2, and 3, 4. And it was an extraordinary experience of connection, not just to the 4 people around the table, but to the room of people who were all doing the same thing. Now, I think I would have come up with a different name for the organization that held these. They called them strokers. But in a manner of speaking, you kind of do that. But it was one of those things where I'd never heard of it before. But as soon as I experienced it, I'm going, man, we need to do this more than once a month, because everybody needs this tactile contact. Talk to us a little bit about this energy work and how, even though, yes, as a Reiki master, I can send absentee, and you can do the same thing through your energy work. Is it more profound, more impactful when it is, shall we say, skin on skin or physical contact with a person? Or does it really matter when you're talking about the fact that everything's energy?
Oh, I think both are valid. I think that in this earthly realm that we live in, when you're talking about having bodies,
Yeah.
we have our bodies, and our bodies are important. They're really the vessel that, the soul is within this vessel. And I really believe in honoring it and caring for it as best we can. And love is a huge part of this vessel. When I decided recently to do my once a month, and I might do it more often now, healing through connection, it was to bring people together. A lot of people are on Zoom, which is now a way to come together like we are. So there's Zoom and in person. But those connections that these people are forming every month are quite profound for them, because many people feel isolated. And it's the isolation and the fear is what I wanted to be able to address or help with from the many lessons and experiences I'd had offering response work. Like I want to create a safe space where people can come together and experience their body through movement, meditation, and as a poet, I bring in the arts and journaling. And I believe it's profound that we connect on this realm together. I do also know that remote healing is very powerful, and I've worked with healers and do myself offer energy healing to people when I can. So I think both are very valid, Richard. I'm very much in the earth. I'm a real earth person. My name Carvalho means oak tree. So I'm Jina Oak Tree. That's a Portuguese word. So I'm enjoying, and I think there's joy in coming together. like happiness and joy. So before we leave, I want to read a poem I wrote called Happiness. And it was an exploration of happiness. And I think that joy and is very important, that the soul and the spirit feel that sense of lightness. And that can be done remotely or in person, but I kind of have fun. Dancing is so important. Making sound, chanting, doing yoga. I do yoga. I'm a yoga practitioner.
Mhm.
All these things to honor our bodies and ourselves. So I just think we should have fun.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Having fun. I mean, I've often brought this up on these programs that our founding fathers, they must have known something to incorporate into the three they list of the inalienable rights that we have been given: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I've often asked the question of our guests. I'm going to ask you: do you think that our founding fathers knew something? Because first of all, let me clarify something. And I've heard this over and over again about how this is, this is a Christian nation. No, it's not. This country was founded by deists. They were godless. They were godly people. All right, I'll give them that much. They were godly people, but they weren't Christians, not in the sense that we look at today. And so I think that somehow, without the restraints of modern day Christianity, all right, they knew something. They had some connection, maybe metaphysically or spiritually, that said, yeah, we need to put that in there, the pursuit of happiness. What are your thoughts in that regard? Have I gone astray? Am I nuts and should be expelled from the
No,
country?
you haven't. You're playing, Richard. You're playing, and I'm playing
trying.
with
I'm
you.
trying.
You're playing. I mean, I'm enjoying you have I'm trained in the theater, so I was in the theater, and we used to do, improv. I loved improv, and that's how all
Mhm.
that stuff started with Second City and Saturday Night Live and everything. We're improving. So that's fun. There aren't enough improv spaces. People are just a bit too constrained and
Mm.
too rigid. So I think maybe our founding fathers were doing a little fun and improv and trying to figure out this whole thing. And if you don't throw it at the wall, keep trying different things, that's how you discover. It's a process of discovery.
Hmm.
Can I
Yeah.
read you my poem?
Please do.
Okay, this is called Happiness. I want to tell you something about happiness. So I placed happiness on the middle of my kitchen table, and I just looked, and I viewed it from every angle, turning it, placing it upside down, right side up, this ball of happiness, sitting patiently, waiting, allowing all this examination. Happiness is so patient. Happiness is so pure. Its light is delivered so generously. It's always on, in the darkness, in the early morning. Good morning, happiness. So good to see you today, as I sip my coffee with happiness. And I look out at the hummingbird feeder, and more birds appear. Happiness sits there, and I move about cleaning up and tending to my little life, and happiness beckons me. So I grab my journal and a pen, and I write beside happiness. Happiness likes it when I laugh, especially at myself. And it's so patient with me. I love happiness. I'm so grateful. It's so grateful and loving and understanding. I want to marry happiness. I'll ask happiness to marry me. And happiness loves sex and kisses and caresses and tenderness. Happiness especially loves dancing. Happiness is such a good dancer. I love dancing with happiness. It's my favorite partner ever. Happiness loves art and music and all creative expression. And happiness told me it likes my writing. Wow, that's so great. I'm going to keep writing for happiness. I'll do anything to make happiness happy. Sitting so patiently on the kitchen table today, beaming because I'd spent more time than usual with happiness. And I know it made happiness happy. It had been a while since we had played together.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. That is Jina Carvalho. And this is Tell Me Your Story. We are talking with a woman who has been through a lot, as we all have. I heard something, Jina Carvalho, that I thought was really very interesting about the times in which we live. Now, I keep hearing the people saying they quote this Chinese proverb or saying, "May you live in interesting times," and I will say there has not been a time in human history when it hasn't been interesting times. So you can kind of push that one aside. What I did hear from someone recently was that we need to stop trying to find the new normal or get back to normal. And that they say that that is part of what is causing the stress and the fatigue and the frustration and the angst and all of those other things. We're trying to get back to a place that you can't go back. You know, it's REM said it best. It's the end of the world as we know it, every minute of every hour of every day. So let me ask you, what is it in your estimation that we, as the stressed, fatigued, frustrated, anxious individuals who just want to be able to, what was the name of that we just want to exhale right now? Just hold, oh, come on, it'll get better, and eventually, and we're getting blue in the face, and we just want to exhale, and then we just want to breathe easy. And I don't know what to call that. I don't want to say new normal because every minute is a new normal, but they're referring to what's happening in our community, our city, our state, our nation, the world. And it's like, folks, we need to make a shift. What kind of a shift do we need to make? What is it that if we need to give it a name, if it's not the new normal, what is it? And what's your prescription, if you will?
We need to go in. The direction is inward. New normal is the present moment. All of the teachings from thousands of years that we all know in all spiritual traditions, there is nothing except the present moment. And the answers that we seek, we have to learn how to go within. When COVID hit, we all wanted to go back to normal. And then we had this trauma and that trauma. And now we have this administration and we have this. I believe the direction is in, but it's in and through the heart. We cannot abandon our brothers and sisters. We do what good we can with what we have. Love is the medicine. We need to open our hearts, learn how to open our hearts. We have to learn that this is all we have. And we make the best of that with which we have. And if it's just sending a smile, I did a lot of work with the homeless also on the streets. And it is significant when you go up to somebody and you just say hello, for Christ's sake. And all the work I did in suicide prevention, it's so important to make a connection with a human being and with yourself. So the direction is inward, downward, through the heart, and then through gratitude and grace, reach out and be caring and loving to those who see around you. And there is no normal. There is no place to go back to, I don't think.
I think that's a good point to make, that there isn't any place to go back to because you can't go back. I mean, if we
and
could,
you can't go forward.
Well, true enough. Well, because I often have used this example of the concept of regret. Regret is basically saying, if only I could go back in time and make a different choice,
Mhm.
and then go back to the present. Well, here's the problem. If you could go back in time and you made a different choice, that one that which you regret in the present moment, you would never come back to the person that you were. You changed things. And so that has changed you. And every other choice that you made after that in that different timeline is, you're, in a manner of speaking, you're stuck. Now, I understand the whole physics aspect or quantum physics aspect of divergent timelines. Okay, I get that. A matter of fact, my wife and I feel as though we have shifted from one timeline to another when we left Santa Barbara, because now we're living here in Twin Peaks, a mile high and 180, 190 miles to the east. And actually just, I'll use the word from my previous guest that just before you, and that is, and we're just thriving. I get excited when I think about the DIY projects. I get excited when I think about, for example, on this day that you and I are conversing, I have 4 interviews. You're number 2. I've got 2 to go. And I'm going to tell you right now, the wife is either going to go with me or not, but I'm getting out of the house and I'm taking a drive or taking a walk. I don't care, to get out into nature, to get out amongst these giant pine trees and to listen to the birds and an occasional car or truck go by, and just take in the sunlight and go to the lake maybe and just sit there. Yeah, we'll go through the McDonald's drive-through, get an ice cream cone, and we'll go back to the lake and we'll sit there and just take it in. It seems to me that that's one of the aspects that we have, or maybe I should rephrase that we are neglecting. And it doesn't matter where you live. I mean, I'm sorry, but even in New York City, where everything is concrete and steel, there are pockets, including a large pocket called Central Park, where you can go and experience nature. Okay. I said this to my last guest, or asked this of my last guest. I'll ask this of you. Do you believe that nature is our greatest teacher?
Yes.
And that's not discounting going within. Don't get me wrong.
No. But going within connects you with nature. I mean, we are a part of nature. We are a living organism. Nature is our community. It's where we come from. That's why we have to honor the earth, and we, need to put thought and mindfulness onto the planetary nature around us, because that's where we come from and that's where we're going to go. I agree with you. Every day I make a point. And I remember I did some forest bathing, and you think of these little community in Japan where they started the idea of forest bathing. Mm-hmm. And it really is profound. Your energy does shift if you just sit there like you described. And I can feel the shift in just sitting quietly in nature. And it's where I go to heal. And also earthing, when you walk, you put your feet on the ground barefoot and you feel that grounding and that earthing. And I know that Mother Earth is actually is helping to heal me with the energy from the earth. And I grew up from Portugal. I went to northern Canada. I grew up in a very remote community in northern Canada, where all there were First Nations people. That's the natives or First Nations. And so I learned a lot and was very tuned in to that. And that was, 60 years ago. So I learned a lot about and experienced nature and people living off the land, fishing for their people and working, in the land. So it's really so profoundly important. If everybody could take a few minutes every day.
Just a few minutes. Just take a couple of minutes. I love what one of my guests said some months or years ago. We were talking about meditation. And, a lot of people think, I gotta get in the lotus position, cross my legs, which I may never get out of. And then I need to sit there quietly, quieting my mind for 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, and so on and so forth. And one of the elements that I threw in terms of quieting the mind, I thought, maybe what we need to do instead of telling the mind to shut up so that we can meditate. And I love this because it was actually a dialogue I had with one of my guests. We came to the perspective, why not? Because the mind is kind of like a child. And what child would not get excited about being invited to a place where normally they would say, no, you can't go. Hey, my mind, here's the deal. I really want to go meditate. I really want to kind of get some inspiration and insight from that still small voice. I'll tell you what, if you will keep the noise down, you can come with me. All right, come with me. It almost chokes me up to think about. Come with me. And when I'm done, we'll get together and we'll create some cool stuff. And then the other aspect of it that my guest said, he says, you know what? It doesn't have to take 10 or 15 minutes. Even if you just pause, let's just say, even if you're in your car and you're in a parking lot, not on the road, not even at a stoplight, don't do it there. 60 seconds, a 60-second meditation. Okay. And at the end of some of these programs that people hear on Sunday morning and evening, and then Monday early morning, I actually have within this collage of presentations, the 1-minute meditation. So folks are listening to the program at that time. You're going to hear that 1-minute meditation. It's just really very cool. We're talking with Jina Carvalho, and JinaCarvalho.com is the website. We hope that you'll go check out the work that she is doing. The poetry. I love that poem on happiness. That was beautiful. As we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Jina Carvalho, and we're talking about the work that she's doing. You had just recently, and I know it won't be the last one, Healing Through Connection at the Unity Church. I've been there. I remember the former pastor there. She was fantastic. She used to do a program on the station for a period of time. And my wife and I went there a couple of times for some presentations by other people as well. How did this particular event come about for you? This series is what it was. It was a series, okay? And are you looking at either a continuation or doing it again there at the Unity?
I am. So they invited me to do it regularly. So right now I'm doing it the last Wednesday of every month at 5:00. And it's in person or on Zoom by donation. And I'm now thinking, because it is on Zoom, of inviting the other Unity communities from around the country to join, which would be really, really interesting. But anyone is welcome to come. If you're in Santa Barbara, come in person. And the impetus for it was because of these times that we live in, and so many people I talk to were feeling fear, isolation, anxiety. And I thought, I'd love to create a space where people could come and be together and share experiences like meditation and movement and poetry and healing together, and make it a space. I love sharing what I know and teaching. So I'm doing it once a month. I may increase it to twice a month right now. And I also do training in psychological first aid for individual. I do nonprofits and businesses, and teaching them skills to be present through psychological first aid when there's trauma. So I do that as well. So it came about as an offering, and somebody from the board invited me, and I just love doing it. So it brings me joy and happiness.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
I want to talk. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I think writing is, I just want to stress a little bit, like when we were talking about nature, that poetry is sort of gotten a bad rap over so many years, but there is so much heart soul poetry that just reading a poem or making or painting or drawing, like let's turn to those tools as well. They're very healing.
Hmm.
So I try to incorporate as much into that space. And
I'm not a big poetry person as far as the written word in that sense.
Mhm,
However, I came to the realization after pulling up certain um, poems from the internet
mhm,
in reference to some of my favorite musical artists.
mm,
And when you take a look at the lyric sheet, the way it's laid out on the internet, the way it's laid out, say, by Google or the various different
mhm.
outlets that you can get lyrics from, it's laid out in stanzas, just like a poem.
They
Okay.
are poems.
Yeah, they are poems. Most all
They
of
are
them.
poems.
Yeah. And I'm going to share if I can bring it up fairly quickly, I will while I'm talking with you.
Sure.
I wrote a song a year no 6 years ago. I wrote this song. I was working with a woman by the name of Emily Yurchison. She
Oh.
wrote a book. It was a sort of an instructional book called Odyssey of Song, where she helps you to write your own song where you are. Now, my song at that time was I'm a Good Man Doing the Best I Can. That was the title of the song. And one of the things that I was thinking about while I was sitting on my deck after we had moved here, I was sitting on my deck the other day, and it was very recently. And I'm going, I wrote that 6 years ago, and there were people who really liked it. And I thought, I'd like to put together a song that kind of describes what my wife and I have been went through this past 12 months, 13 months since we were evicted from our home in Santa Barbara and had to move. And so I've gotten over my fear of AI. And so I thought, well, AI is nothing more than a tool. In my perspective, it's nothing more than a tool. So I go into AI and I say, look, I want to write a song. And I gave them all the parameters. I'm told this long story of what happened while we were going through what we were going through. And now, of course, now here we are and where we are. And then, of course, what our plans for the future are in a general sense. And I said, okay, go ahead and write it, put it together, and then I'll modify it and so forth. And I said, oh, I want you to read it to me out loud. I have to be specific with AI. I said, okay, will you please read what you just created? Okay, it was very good. And it's summarized by this. No, 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 no. I want you to read it out loud. You have to be specific. Anyway, so AI, and I don't know why the voice I've chosen sounds female. So she read the song out loud to me. Now, it first came out in 2 verses and a chorus, and I'm only going to read you the first couple of lines of the verse. But I will tell you that when she started reading it for the very first time, I kid you not, I started to cry. And it goes, in the shadow of a goodbye, we drove along the coast. Angus in the rear view, but our love held us close. A door sealed with questions, a road we couldn't see. But step by step, we found our way to be free. And I have to tell you that I have since added another verse or two and so forth. There's a chorus line and all that. Now I have to figure out the music to go with it. I want to produce it. And I love the fact that we have this tool that I know a lot of people are afraid of. What's your perspective on AI and what role, if any, does it play in your life and in the work? And I'm going to say the vocation that I'm going to put it this way, that has chosen you.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we all say this, AI is here. Like, you can't close your eyes to the fact that AI is here. It's a very, very useful tool. I have concerns, as we all do, about the impacts on the environment and these data centers that I think we need to solve that. It's very valuable. It's very valuable to create art. It's very valuable to do what we need to do to find our way through our work and answers. But I will say, the other day I was listening to someone who had interviewed Patti Smith. I'm a big fan of Patti Smith, the musician. And Patti Smith is was talking about the power of the artist. These are tools, but we cannot forget or lose sight that we are artists. And as a writer and a poet, and you're talking about music and musicians, we have to be given, we have to allow the artist its power and the due of the art, because that's human. And that human expression is very, very important. I don't think AI can sit with a person the way you and I can, who are in deep pain or grief or loss. And AI will not create the art, the beauty that it's coming from the soul. AI is not soul. Now that it might happen, but we need to honor the soul. Use AI to support what we want to do in the world and enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking with two musicians in LA. They're rappers actually, and their awards. They are now AI music awards. Richard, they're
Oh,
giving
wow.
AI generated music awards.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the relationship? We have to form that relationship with AI that feels like it has integrity for me and for you.
Yeah.
So I create my art and do my work. I use AI to support me on that journey
Mm-hmm.
as a tool, holding its hand. I'm not afraid of it. I'm more concerned about the environmental issues but I'm not afraid of it right now, at least in my current
Right.
state of mind.
It's
Um,
interesting. An author who I've had on this program, he writes fiction, and he uses AI to write his books. But he explained it very succinctly in the interview that I started out by saying I have a bias against AI, and maybe my guest will help me with this, and he did. Here's how he uses it. He gives all, just like I did with my song. I told a story, and I want to write a song, and da, da, da. He gives AI all of the parameters for the story. And AI then writes the story or pumps out this lump of clay, the first draft. And that's the only time he uses AI. He then takes that lump of clay and he puts it on the potter's wheel. And then he, the author, begins to shape it. And now it becomes his. And I actually did ask AI after writing this second song. I said, okay, so who owns the rights to this song? Whose is it? And it basically said, essentially, it's yours. It's mine. It's Richard Dugan's, Reverend Dr. D's song. Because she said, I didn't create the story that it is based on. You did. You told me the story. And it wouldn't be any different than if I had a ghostwriter, writing my books, that I would write. I certainly would probably acknowledge in the front of the book, or let's say, music and words by Richard Dugan, maybe assisted, AI assisted. I could, in that respect, to be honest, to be integral. I had AI help me with my taxes. All right. AI didn't do my taxes. AI answered all of my questions because it had immediate access to all of the instructions, all of the explanations. I can't take AI to an audit. So there you go. You're on your own. You're responsible for that. It's just, to me, fascinating. I want to ask you, because you touched upon it already before we wrap things up here. I want to ask you about what you have sort of addressed already, and that is the importance of the arts in our day-to-day lives, whether it's music or books or paintings or sculpture or pottery or whatever medium you choose. Um, what is your perception? Why is art that important in our world?
Inspiration. Art is inspiration. When I'm inspired, there's energy. The way I like to live my days, I like to start and I like to experience inspiration. And that's an uplifted feeling of the soul and the spirit. Art
Mm.
is a real is it allows for inspiration. It's created from inspiration and it inspires us. And when we're inspired, we can do great things. We can open up in ways that um, we can deal with fear and anxiety. When we're inspired, and that's why the arts are so important,
Mm.
and the relationship with the arts, that we really honor our artists and our art forms. It's like nature. Nature inspires us also. When you were talking about nature, it's the same uplifted feeling. What gives you that uplifted feeling?
Yeah.
And if it's beautiful music, beautiful art, take yourself on an artist day, as Julia Cameron, the artist's way. She would say, a day a week, have an artist's day and take yourself out as an artist and have a completely open day to experience everything. What is your artist? What does that part of you want to do today?
Mm.
And,
That's very cool.
and
That is
honoring
very,
that
very cool.
part of yourself. And those artist days are very special. And that part of you, and you don't have to be I worked really hard to publish my poetry. I published my first book. It was hard to do for me to step out like that.
Hmm.
But it was very important for me to honor that. And I thought, this is part of who I am, and I don't have to be a famous writer, poet, author. I just know that I need to feel inspired.
You know,
And my
it's
soul.
interesting that you put it that way because a lot of people they don't fully understand that concept that we need inspiration. We do. We need it in our lives, not
Yeah.
just for the purposes of creating this, that, or the other thing. It's. I would even put it right up there with um, oxygen.
Yes, well, inspire comes from inspire, which is to breathe, the Latin word, right? It's about breath.
That's cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. You
And
have.
I
Oh,
want to say something about your story that you told about meditation and putting the mind in the
okay.
back seat,
Hmm.
because I heard something that Elizabeth Gilbert wrote. Her book, Big Magic, is a wonderful book about creativity. But Liz Gilbert said she's a very fearful person, and many people are fearful. And they said, how do you deal with fear? And she said, you know what? Fear's not going to go away. But I told her this, I'm going to go for a drive and you can sit in the back seat. I'm driving, you're going to be there, but I've got the wheel.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing you said with meditation. Fear and anxiety and all these things, as long as they're not in the driver's seat, but they're not going to go away. So you can ask them to sit in the back seat. You don't particularly want to hear directions, but they're there. And that's every day I have to say, I'm worried, I'm scared, I'm afraid. But it's in the back seat. I got this. And what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And that's really important because it isn't going to go away.
Yeah.
AI and fear and anxiety and the administration. Sorry, it's here.
Yeah.
So put them in the back seat
That's
and
right.
go for a drive and go to the ocean and go to the park and just say, you can come, but you can't be in charge. Sorry.
Exactly. Jina Carvalho is my guest, JinaCarvalho.com. She has two books. She
Oh,
has two that are available. One is The Weight of Desire. It's a poetry
yeah.
memoir. And the other one is Women in a Golden State Anthology.
Yes.
And that
Beautiful
is
book.
California Poets at 60 and beyond. Sound a little like Buzz Lightyear.
That's true. It's true. And the power of poetry, let me tell you, we did a reading, several readings in assisted living facilities or homes. And you wouldn't believe it. We thought, how's this going to go over? Very well.
Mm.
We read the different poets, beautiful poets in this anthology, by the way. And I was honored to be part of that. And they really loved it. So you can take poetry anywhere.
Exactly.
You know,
You can.
it's just like happiness. Just take it with you.
And then think about it another way too, folks, and talk about inspiration. Let's say you come across a poem like what Gina read to us earlier about happiness. All right.
Yeah.
And then kind of mull it over, read it over a few times. If you need a short poem, go ahead. And then listen to the notes that come and maybe put your own music to it. I used to create, I never wrote them down. I never recorded them or anything. But as a kid growing up, I would, as I'm bicycling all over Phoenix, I'm singing. Sometimes my favorite artists, and sometimes I'm making stuff up and having a great time. I do remember it was a frustrating incident where I was singing very loudly and very vociferously Three Dog Nights, Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog, as I'm bicycling down the street where I used to live on Hubble Street in Phoenix. I was not watching where I was going. And I ran into a parked car. All right. I wasn't going that fast, so I didn't hurt myself too badly. Did not change from a tenor to a soprano or anything. But I learned that, okay, you could go ahead and sing with all of the enthusiasm you want. Just make sure you're watching where you're going. Just like we're watching where we're going here on Tell Me Your Story. It's Jina Carvalho, and we're talking about the work that she's doing. JinaCarvalho.com will be linked to that website. Gina, I want to thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun and I'm going to say inspiring in the sense that even though I have 2 more interviews after you, yeah, we're getting out of the house this afternoon, even if the sun is going down. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just love being outside. Now, part of the reason is because the window in front of me, which is an exterior wall with a window outside, a lot of light comes in. So I have it kind of blacked out. But I'm looking into one of those pull shades that actually does black out the room. But then when I'm not doing stuff, I can open up the blinds or raise it and let the light in. And
let the light in.
Yeah, so that's what we're encouraging people to do. Let the light in. But I thank you so much for letting your light into our program today.
Oh, it was such a pleasure, Richard. It was such an interesting time. Thank you for letting me have this space and opportunity to talk about my work and my vision for life and other ramblings.
Hey, I hope that they can go to your website if you haven't done one of these sessions, these classes at the Unity Church.
Yeah. Sign up and come and join. And Richard, let's stay in touch.
Please do.
Stay
We'd love to have you back again. We can
let the light in. Let the light in. Leonard Cohen would agree with that. Hallelujah.
You know what? That would be a good topic for our next program. How do we let the light in with everything that we see?
How do you let the light in? How do you let the light in?
Yeah. How do we change our perspective so that the light will come in? And I think that's
also, like Rumi said, and Leonard Cohen made famous, but it was Rumi, through the crack, that's where the light comes in.
Yes, that's right.
So we're all hurting and cracked. There are cracks, but that's how the light comes.
That's how the light gets in, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the light gets in. Well, I have 3 final questions that I ask all of my guests. I will ask those of you in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube and Rumble, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will subscribe and then click notification. I also hope that you'll go to Amazon and pick up a copy of my book, which is Choices, 5 Steps for Life, available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And we also hope that if you can help us out financially, we would be gratefully appreciative. I want to thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. And it's really easy for you to support us. We use both Zella as well as PayPal. And all you have to do is put in my email address, which is richard@richarddugan.com. And again, I thank you so much for what you have done and what you will do. We also ask that you take some time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, and go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to and follow the promptings of that still small voice. And with all that being said, we now turn to our very special guest and those 3 questions that we ask them all. And the first of those is, who is Jina Carvalho?
I unmuted myself. Jina Carvalho is unmuted. I'm a seeker.
I like that.
A muted seeker.
It's beautiful. What gets you up in the morning?
Light and trees.
And finally,
I'm in the forest.
oh, wonderful.
My place is in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets me up.
What was your best day?
Oh, a beautiful day in Patmos. I spent time in Patmos, Greece. And I woke up in this beautiful place and I looked out of the Aegean. And we went to the cave of John. He wrote one of the scriptures there. And I was so filled with light that it was an inspiration. So it was beautiful. And I can still see Patmos. And I want to go back.
Wonderful.
I recommend Patmos to many people.
Well, I thank you so much for joining us here on the program again. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother, Michael, welcome to fatherhood, my friend. And to my dear friend, Zorro, aho, aho.